a Aquara forum or and then invite people, or did you just go out there in water forums and say, hey, this is my idea, and how did you go about that? That'd be interesting as well.
ECC, Fireside chats around. We're going out.
Hello, and thank you for joining our Fireside Chats with founders at the European Cardano community. I am Marcus, one of the core team members, and if you like what we are doing, please consider supporting our individual projects. You will find the links to our guests and our projects below the video. Please give us a thumbs up, follow us by hitting the bell icon, and let's enjoy this session.
Hello. Welcome everybody to another appointment with the Cardano community Fireside Chat. We are from Europe, and we are always happy to have those events where we can meet other founders and share experiences and see how things are going on Cardano and its ecosystem. Usually we read this mantra that is the exact same as the mantra that the Global Catalyst event every Wednesday is presenting, but we translated every line in different language in Europe to make things more complicated. We usually spend like 10 minutes trying to read each line for every participant in the room, but we decided that it's better to save this time for something more productive. So please have a read and let's go forward here. What we should read instead is our exclusive mantra that Marcus wrote. Marcus is the heart of the European community. And he wrote those fantastic points that everybody should share. Oops, wrong slide. Another things we should mention that we love to host the Twitter spaces in any language spoken in Europe. So if you know anybody that want to make a space talking about everything they want, we will gladly make it happen with our contribute. So please just get in touch with us, and that will happen as soon as we can.
That would be cool. And the topic is usually about entrepreneurship, and again, as to learn from each other. So
okay,
that's just a quick and easy format. Not much preparation, to be honest. Just writing down over the week or over the 4 weeks what was mattering to you, and then getting into a conversation. Cool. Davide, sorry, I did.
No problem. Oh, why sorry? So let's present our guests of tonight. We should have 3 guests, but one of them didn't join in the last minute, so we now going with 2 of those. The first one is Aquara. Is it pronounced right?
Exactly, it's perfect. It's actually an Italian city as well, so no wonder you got it right, mate. But yeah, we actually haven't founded the company behind Aquara yet, but yeah. So I'm the founder and project lead, and my background is in education and finance. And over the years, like I've been deeply fascinated with the crypto space in general. Like I got into it around 2020, and what always fascinated me was like the use case of it. Bitcoin, like this disruptive potential for like essentially like how to say like combating the traditional finance space and how we view finance. And so yeah, big ideas always like fascinated me. And then like as I went into the crypto space more, and so like I became very frustrated because I was seeing a lot of tokens and value offerings that essentially had no backing. Like, and I almost like the meme space has only like from my perspective, like it has gotten like what would you say, like a bit worse. Because there is no, how do you say, like often no utility or backing behind these projects. And then I just asked myself, like, what if we build something that truly matters? What would that be? It's not like we are not building, like we have Cardano, we have, as I said, Bitcoin, a bunch of other great projects going around. But I was just looking for something that could offer another, like, how do you say, like aspect to the space. And that's what led me to water. Like the most critical resource on the planet. Nothing works without water, not our bodies. Like the computers we're sitting at here is made out of like completely clean water. Like even our cities or like economies, like it's proof that GDP is closely tied to like water economy, meaning that how much water is in like a country is also usually how well they fare economic wise. But sadly, what we're seeing is that the access to water, fresh water, is disappearing. And I believe after doing a bunch of research over these past years that it's based on the way that we design the management of water rather than it's an accident, as many people would let you to believe. Because we have only that much water on the planet, like 0.5% of it is accessible to us human beings. And what we're seeing is that it's being mismanaged, it's being polluted, and it's being privatized in like an alarming rate. And so we're seeing corporations buying up water rights. I don't know if you've heard about like billionaires and wealthy individuals like Bill Gates buying up agricultural land in India and so on. And I'm not saying that all governments are failing, but basically in those places where water isn't abundant, we're seeing like a tendency of basically failure to manage it properly for the people who lives there. Um, and yeah, in some regions, like you take for instance like Turkey, they've mismanaged their rivers to the point where like those rivers that once flow with water into Iraq no longer, like Iraq has no more water. You're seeing it with the Colorado River as well in Canada and America. Like by the time it reaches Mexico, which was once a place with a lot of water, there is none for those people who live there. And I just want to create a system where we go back to treating water as a global commons and not a private asset, as we're seeing all these corporations and essentially also government supporting. Water moves freely, like it's you cannot own it. I don't know, like have you tried holding water? Like it slips out of your hands. So what we're talking about when we're talking about ownership, we're talking about like the infrastructure, what allows you to like hold the water, and make it accessible to people, right? Like and it moves around constantly, like underground and our groundwater, upstream, downstream with our rivers. And like yeah, so it's impossible to like own in that sense, and it shouldn't be held in the hands of the few. It should be held in the hands of the many. And yeah, so we've basically with Aquara, we tried to create a new model which prioritizes both local and global communities. It's a big complex subject basically, but if I was to sum up Aquara with one sentence, it would be a decentralized global water democracy, where everyone has access, and it's backed by both water resources, because like 50% of the AQA token is going to be backed by water resources. Water is the most stable asset history wise in the finance like you're ever going to find, because as I said, like nothing works without it. So there's always going to be huge value potential there. And then we're also backing it with 50% Bitcoin. What Bitcoin has done to inflation the last 16 years is yeah, like beyond crazy. It has completely outperformed it. So there's huge growth potential there as well in backing it the token with Bitcoin. And yeah, we're also seeing like a big investment gap in the water sector. I think it's the World Bank that's estimates that 7 trillion is to be mobilized to combat this water scarcity, and those money has to be found somewhere. And right now, the people who are in charge right now isn't managing it in a proper way. So what we've done is that we've created 333 million AQA tokens, and each one of those tokens represent a cubic mile of the world's total water supply. So essentially, we've kept it like all water is in there. And yeah, so the goal here is to return control to the people in terms of like giving them back the right to govern water. And yeah, so that's basically Aquara in a nutshell. I hope I didn't worry too much with the facts there.
No,
But yeah,
absolutely.
we're launching September 2025, and feel free to check out our project. It's linked in the
Description
bio. Yeah,
and
exactly.
in the
Yeah,
description.
Ah,
Like all links are there. That's
very
yeah.
nice explanation. Very nice. But I would love
Mm,
to invite you in one of the following Pitch Fest that we have as a European Cardano community. Those are
yeah,
even more friendly events when we just try to pitch our projects and to give each other feedback. I think that you did a very good job with pitching your proposal. So it would be really nice to have you there
yeah,
and maybe give us some feedback as well.
yeah. Thank you, mate.
awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Great.
Very cool.
Let's move to the second guest, at least at the moment, then we can get back for other questions and to drive up the conversation. The next guest is a dear friend of mine, and he's presenting Larissa.Health.
Yeah. Who is it?
Hey, welcome here, Marcus.
Yeah. Hi. It feels like as if I have told it already a couple of times now, being in the pitch fest. So I try to not skip the things now. So basically, currently, you could say every day, that's the numbers from the World Health Organizations, around 800 women die from preventable causes related to pregnancy and childbirth. And roughly 6,500 newborns die within the first month of life. That's additional numbers. And when including stillbirths, a staggering amount of 13,800 babies, so roughly 14,000 babies, and mothers die every single day. So totaling nearly 4.7 million deaths per year. And at Larissa.Health, we want to change that by transforming remote care into a hybrid health model, empowering midwives with greater coverage and data-driven support for them and their pregnant women. And we're working to fulfill WHO's claim that 80% of these deaths could have been averted if midwives would have been involved. And yeah, I'm Marcus, co-founder of Larissa.Health, and we are currently preparing the launch of our Web3 based crowd financing campaign. As you probably heard already, I'm not alone. My dear wife is Wiebke. She's not here today, but she's working with me and forming the concept, and we have separated our task pretty straight. So what is it that we are actually doing is, as we said, wait, Ryan wanted to join. So what we are actually doing is we are improving the information flow between the midwives and the pregnant. According to the regulations, we have to do that step by step, because what we can't do right off the gate is providing medical diagnosis. So we have to go by regulation, very strict. And then at a later stage, we will implement a DAO that allows the midwives to govern the AI that is supporting the decision-making processes, or the information processes, better said, between midwives and pregnants. For that, we need cryptocurrency, of course, but not in the usual case. We just use it as a token-gated voting system. So we don't want to use crypto in a way that we actually want to use it in a way that it is exclusive to midwives and us, because we don't want to influence votes, but the midwives should receive those tokens by their actual work. It's a subscription-based model, and the token that we are releasing is the birth token, as it fits, is a rebate system that works internally, so the midwives won't touch it actually. It's just for us, but with that we can take the risk away from the midwives paying those fees, but leveraging the currency towards the poorer countries. And if the token rises in value, which we don't know, then it's our win for taking the risk of supporting them with a lower SaaS price in the end. And the model is a turning one where you have midwives working for the pregnant, and by receiving their fees, we take a little bit of a cut from that as a transaction fee, and that transaction fee will allow us to buy our token back, basically. That is being earned by staking towards our stake pool with our own wallets. So we create wallets for each midwives so that we don't create tax events for the midwives. And with that, we don't put them at risk. And they can pay for the DAO via those wallets. So it's all smart contract based in the end. But if they choose so, they can take out the tokens. But we're not forcing them into something that they don't understand and that they don't want. So that's basically the model. And right now we've been increasing our network around the WHO, so the World Health Organization.
and making ties with other organizations that are doing groundwork in telehealth around the globe. So that's been the last weeks, and pretty exciting, to be honest. Currently writing the white paper as well, and I've been I'm comparing our outputs with the template that the Cardano Foundation has been put out, and seeing where I do level and where my writing doesn't level. So, and we're forming the company at the moment. We're currently in the process, and we do it in two ways. So a little investment company and then the actual company to mitigate taxation risks. So that's currently where we are.
You did a lot, my friend. You did a lot.
Yeah. Next to ECC. Cool. I'm pretty impressed what you said by what you presented, Thais. Thais, Thais, sorry,
Nice. Yes. Yeah.
Thais. Um, because I think it was in 2010 or 11 when I first heard about the water idea.
Mm,
I studied design thinking back then, and this co-student, he said he's going to do something with water. And of course, you say right away out of the gate, yeah, water is cool. But
yeah.
he also explained it in a somehow similar way as you did.
Mm,
Then I think about 2 or 4 years ago, I linked I checked him out on LinkedIn because the connection as life goes went a little bit apart, and he didn't do it. So
no.
this makes it even nicer to see somebody actually tackling this and doing
Mm,
something in that direction. I think it's a very good cause. And just in layman terms, again, how do you apply the token to the water amount? So if I am sitting somewhere in Africa, or it's always the example in Africa, but if
yeah.
if I am sitting in my rural village in Germany, like out
Mm,
out there where we don't have
yeah.
internet, um, what would I do with that? Because I don't own the water. I don't own the water. What how would that work? In layman.
For I think like it's very complicated, and like as you said, like in layman terms, because we are speaking about water and it is constantly moving around, and no one can own water as it is in its like liquid form. But I think that like you should view it as you own a piece of a global system. So like you own a piece of the total infrastructure owns that's owned by the foundation, which is then directly going to be owned by the DAO that we're going to set up. So you can inflict the DAO. But yeah, you like so how the AQA token is going to be tied by, you know, we invest in certain like technologies, and then we're going to take a look at, for instance, like if we invest in irrigation technology, we're going to take a look at how much water is progressively won through these irrigation systems, and then we're going to tie that cubic mile number, and then we're gonna tie it to the AQA token so you can check how much water is uh, tied up in that. Does that make sense, or did I misunderstand your question?
The way how I would have understood it first um, is during the explanation is that the foundation, if I sitting in my rural area and I have my NFT or my token,
Mm.
I'm saying I need water now, then the foundation would take care that I get my water. Is that something in that direction or?
No, that it's basically like a sustainable, like a new sustainable foundation for how to manage water and treat the investment in the water sector, and give it back to the people, put the people in control. It's not going to be like, let's say you're living in a rural area in Africa.
Mhm.
If Aquara is not uh, in cooperation with an NGO in that area, or hasn't launched projects in that area, then it would not be up to the project to how to say, like, ensure that you get that water. But what you can do is that you can band together, and then we're going to have a percentage of the profit generated, which is going to go to this voting pool where people can go in and vote for projects, and they have to live up to our constitution. So ensuring that it actually goes to people who need it, and then you could go on that platform and get the help while we're still creating or like sustaining the financials behind the system. Does that make sense? Because what we're seeing is that like most people run out of money. Like they want to do a lot of good things, but they don't want to sustain their system. And so what basically happens is that you donate a lot very quickly, and then like you run out. So the main idea is to create a system that can sustain itself and grow slowly over the years. Like this is going to be like a 10, 20, 30 year process if successful. And yeah, so that's like the main idea.
So
But in the beginning, like it's going to be very simple. Like you can vote on like certain partnerships you want us to go for, or what kind of water technologies you feel like is going to be the most helpful. Um, like does that make sense? It's very
somehow that,
broadly explained.
like weather shares.
Like I wouldn't call it weather shares. Um, but it's going to, how do you say, like first and foremost, like governance is going to be very simply set up, like very locally done in terms of but as the community scale, we're going to move on, because like large infrastructure projects and those sorts of things, which I think are those that you speak of, which is going to
Mm.
actually provide people with water, is
Yeah,
very expensive to set up, and that would require a large amount of capital, which has to be um you know gained from somewhere, or like gotten from somewhere. Does that make sense? And in order for
yeah,
that to happen, we need to create a system that's, how to say, large enough to carry that kind of infrastructure projects. So the key idea is to start a lot smaller and with basically what's feasible right now to give people an instance, like a say in how we manage it. An example is, for example, like irrigation right now is pretty expensive for farmers. 70% of all the water that's being used in the world is being used by farmers in agriculture. And what we're seeing is that, for instance, in Australia, these small farmers are getting pushed out because they cannot afford the water prices. But if you create irrigation systems that's cheap enough for them to buy, then what you would get is that a lot of these farmers would be able to sustain themselves. But because we're not seeing enough investment in those technologies, it's not feasible, and therefore they're getting pushed out by companies and corporations and so on, for instance. So that could be like an early way to access and use the model to create some, how do you say, leverage or whatever you might call it for the people. Um, in that regard. Does that make sense? Because a lot of people,
yeah.
when they're thinking about like Aquara, thinks that it's like directly tied to water, but it's just backed by water infrastructure and the things that makes water accessible. Those are the investments that it's backed by. It's not directly redeemable. You cannot go down and draw out a Aquara bottle of water or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all the like water the things that are behind the water that's that's owned by
It's the
the foundation.
it's the investment thesis basically, right?
Yeah,
Everything that
exactly.
ties
Yeah.
to water, infrastructure, etc., and supply chains that are tied to it.
Yeah.
These are going to be built and or fostered by the Aquara community. Then,
Yeah, or potentially like what we're seeing is that like these like private corporations do these like water deals that's very like non-transparent. And
mm,
like so it's also possible to just acquire systems that are already set up basically, but isn't like managed properly. So there is a lot of different ways you can go about it. But yeah, as you said, it's about like what makes water accessible and not necessarily water itself. So to give people back the control, they need to be in control of what makes water accessible, and not and not water itself, because that you cannot hold on to that, if
very
if it
cool.
makes sense.
I understand. Yeah, it makes sense now. I will try to get you in contact with the guy from my university back then. He's an engineer, so
Hmm.
maybe he
Okay,
can
that would be great. Yeah.
put into back into his dreams, and maybe you can find ways to,
Yeah.
yeah. Just
Yeah, we're always looking for like feedback and to get people on if they're interested, like just because we need to grow a community that's large enough to sustain it, right? So yeah,
yeah,
I'll be happy to talk to him.
yeah. Send me your LinkedIn or your email, and again, then we put that out.
I
Perfect.
get that done.
Yeah. How was it with you? I mean, your date is very far away. Your TG, the token generation.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it
why
is. It is,
why
yeah.
is that? For what reasons?
Um, it's because I'd like everything to be grounded, done
Mhm.
properly, and then like it's very like how to say, like I'm a kind of a big visionary. Like I move very fast in my head, and then I had these people around me, like my technical advisor and so on, to just pump the brakes a little bit because I very often think I can like grasp the whole world in like a second. So like there's a lot of things with like token development and pushing the marketing and getting the proper frameworks done, and just in terms of like the legal stuff with like setting up a company and I want to make sure that I do it in the most transparent way and then in the most like responsible way, because I cannot just sit here and talk about like I don't feel like using meme coins is a good way of like utilizing this great technology and then not doing it properly myself. And I think that we live in the world where people want to see results fast, but I think that they often forget that like the things that stay here, like the big things like Apple, Amazon, even Bitcoin in the crypto space, like those things that has stuck the landing and has stayed there for a long time is the things that build with that long-term mindset in mind. And that's why like I don't mind pushing the date even further if that's what it takes to offer people something concrete. Because in the beginning we basically like this has grown out. Our white paper is basically 50% of the feedback I got from starting to posting on Reddit forums and asking people on Twitter what they thought and so on. And yeah, so I'd like to like and take a slow and steady approach, right? Like basically like the Cardano approach. I don't mind that. Like especially when you're seeing like how far Ethereum lags behind and something like decentralization, right? Then like it's better to do it proper and slow, I think.
Very good. Yeah, same here. But how did you go out with the Reddit post? That's interesting. Like, did you have like little by little, or did you create a forum? I think it's called forum in Reddit. Um,
Yeah.
did you create a Aquara forum, or and then invite people, or did you just go out there in water forums and say, "Hey, this is my idea," and how did you go about that? That's an interesting approach.
Yeah. So for me, like the thing was like I don't have a lot of capital and like my team, the people like behind me doesn't either. So you have to find out a way to, how do you say it, leverage like social media in a way that like benefits you. And so yeah, basically like I set up like an Aquara forum, but like no one really joined. And then I just decided to yeah jump out on like Cardano forums and like different crypto spaces and like because my thesis is I think that people from the crypto space will understand it a lot quicker because they understand what a DAO is and they understand a lot of the things that make crypto move and yeah, so on. And I think that like water activists, they would get the idea of why it's important because they would say the same things, but they wouldn't immediately understand why it had to be crypto. And so for me, I think if Aquara is to walk on water, it has to capture people who are interested in crypto first. And so that was the people I mainly targeted on Reddit. And that was like in different forms, like short-term questions and um commenting on other people's posts or like making my own like long ones, seeing how I could like engage people in a provoking way. And I think that's also going to be the approach going forward. That's always like yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but it's always like better. Like that's what you're seeing in the news constantly, right? Like it's mostly like provoking things. It's not
Engagement
nice
farming.
things. So like yeah,
Yeah,
if it makes
I'm
sense.
not
Like that
there
seems
yet.
to be.
I'm not there yet. I cannot shut up my political mouth though, but the other part, I'm not there yet. I'm always
Mm,
getting triggered when it's about actual freedom and when it's against
mm,
people that are, do you say defenseless? Like against the
yeah.
one, I really get triggered by that. Yeah, I find it always very strong if somebody has the guts to just go out and ask. Um, um, I'm I'm struggling with that always, right? I have
Mm,
our little Discord, and I'm trying to be very, very transparent in there. I'm not sharing everything on Twitter because it's not always the right people there to me, right? And I'm very, very careful with handing out the Discord link. People have to find it on our website if they're interested. And it's probably not the smartest decision when it's coming to pure growth, but I want people who are interested in what we are doing.
Just if I can like supplement you, because
Yeah.
like that's a great point in terms of like I think like all founders of, especially like in the crypto space when you're trying to build a community, like we face this constant like we want to see people like who care as much as we do. But I think like yeah, in the crypto space there's also like this like a lot of people is here for the money basically. I know it's not nice
Which is
to
okay.
hear,
Which
it
is okay.
sounds yeah, which is okay, yeah. But it just creates this kind of like how do you say like split between like in the founder's mind it's like it has to be like you want to get people who care, but in this in the yeah you're also gonna need like as you say like it's okay you're also gonna need those people
Yeah.
like the VCs are not gonna give you those money because they care about your great idea. Usually like they're gonna give it to you because they think it's gonna
Yeah. It's
grow,
the
right?
same
So
principle. It's the same
yeah,
principle.
yeah,
Yeah.
true,
I
yeah.
found I found again what I wanted to say, but your point is very, very true. And the way how we do it currently is we split it up. Um,
Mhm.
we are currently in talks with people to help us. When we say we have dedicated channels, for example, in the Discord that are solely related to when, right? And easy to
Mm,
ask. And then we have product update channels where we share really close insights, but those are not open yet because they will only open when once either the token is out or the NFT is available. So you buy yourself into the information channels, basically. You can also use the Discord functionality of monthly subscriptions and then get into the insights there as well. So Discord offers these cool features there.
mm,
So and to be inclusive here on that end, we are partnering with Promoface, a project that we've learned of a few weeks ago, and who are also hosting the English spaces then soon. They have created a chat bot, not a chat bot, a bot that allows you to use the Twitter API or the X API and comment, post, repost, etc. Your your posts without actually leaving the Discord. So with that, you get the Discord engagement rate up while increasing the outreach or the impact on Twitter, which is pretty cool.
mm. Yeah.
And we want to use their point collection system to enable people with lesser means getting up the ladder and
Mm,
then opening up the channels. So with that, they don't need to have money and they get into the option to get the rewards at that point, right? If you don't
mm,
have the money, you need to go the hard way. We as founders know that, right? So
mm,
so they have to work their way up in their way as well, and that will exclude hopefully those who are in there for the 5 minute. Hey, I want to get your NFT and sell it away, because if you work for it,
mm.
you want to keep it, right? Or you
Yeah.
want to sell it if it's got any worth, right? And our NFTs will, for example, allow lifetime subscriptions for midwives. So it will
Mm,
one will clone itself basically into another one, and then you can give that away and donate it. And the other one should be
yeah.
donated probably as well, but you know how people are. So some will just trade it around, well,
Yeah.
most probably. That's the one part. So maybe that helps with finding a marketing model, um, like having classical affiliate marketing that generates money or points to climb that ladder and get real income at the same time for those people who want that, right? When I started
Mm,
out, you're coming from finance, maybe you had that too. When I started out doing sales processes, I was entirely on commission. And that was cool.
Mm.
So I had my regular consulting job, and or basically as a self-employed as well. And then I've been building that one. And the good thing about that
Mm.
was it created returning income at some point, right? So as long
Yeah.
as the sold contracts were running, I had a little cut on it. So that became then very attractive. But you would be dragged into that because you see the value rising, and you see like, okay, if I'm selling a bad contractor, I'm not going to have that contractor very long. So, and the same thing applies to those systems. If you when you pull people in that would sell your service, you better be good with your
Mm.
service, because otherwise they will leave you. So
Yeah.
it's pushing both sides. And in regards to crypto and DAOs, etc., I wouldn't go necessarily to the people and always talk about the DAO. I've been doing that right now as well, but maybe just talking about what it is for. Like,
Mm.
you have a voting system that is exclusively for those interested into what we are building, right? So
Mm.
because your message is actually about giving the rights, the water rights, or the decisions back into the hands of the people that I want to work with the water or
Mm.
infrastructure. In that way, you can channel that without implementing the crypto idea, and then you could say, do your loop back if somebody's interested. Um,
Mm.
Ryan, do you have a question?
Not really. I missed a part of it. I lost service, so I'll have to re-listen to everything. But again, it's just every Cardano space, you just learn something, or you learn networking, or I mean, every single one. It's shocking. It's just a very passionate group of everybody, and it never ceases to amaze me. I mean, everyone you learn. We're working on so many of the same things on improving just life. And I don't know how Cardano did this, but somehow so many of us have congregated here, and it's great. And it's just great.
Yeah, I agree, Ryan, but also let's keep in mind what both Thais and Marcus said before about the fact that most of the people is really interested the most to find a way to gamble their money in our space, unfortunately, yet. And that's why social projects like Aquara and like Larissa.Health, unfortunately, that should be all the other way around. But unfortunately, those are the kind of projects struggling trying to find the funding, like with Catalyst, for example. Usually, it's very difficult. I also had a similar proposal in similar, I mean, a social like proposal in the Fund 9, and that was really basically ignored about the voters.
Yeah.
So it's pretty difficult in that case. So I think we need to mature a little bit as
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
had
Well, in my project, so I have the world broken into bioregions and indices of these bioregions. And one of the measures of the bioregion's health is its access to water and its water distribution. And you can invest in these um, bioregions, basically through a UBI, because I see UBI as a very real uh, thing coming for our society, especially with AI. But you know, absolutely similarly aligned. And I see the access to health. Um, I have a marketplace set up uh, for impact measurement. Because everybody is basically by birth allowed so many tons of CO2 that's absorbed by the earth per year, and that's what we should be trading. And if we just traded that, in third world and second world countries, if they just traded their birthright to the Earth's absorption of CO2, it would it would 5 times multiply all the foreign aid in the world if rich companies paid these individuals for their CO2 that should be granted them at birth. 4 tons a year is what the Earth absorbs per person. And if they could trade that to people in first world countries who use more than that quota, it would 5 times all foreign aid put together. And it'd be peer to peer. So I mean, I think that the funding thing, and I think we just keep doing what we're doing, and it'll be there. We'll figure it all out, and we'll change the world before they even know what happened. They'll be asking for the meme coins.
Isn't that already being done?
The marketplaces, but it's not peer to peer.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, peer to peer is where it is. We need to get it directly in the hands of mothers and fathers and people. And with any sort of digital identity, it allows for that. And it shouldn't go through countries and ministries. And I mean, that's just a grift on top of it. Same thing.
Maybe you and Thijs should also talk.
Absolutely. It's like this. Every time. I have a huge thing written on healthcare too. And I love midwifery. I had three of my children were home births in the States, in America here. And we had to go with a midwife. I lived in Nevada, right on the border with California, and we had to go with a California midwife because Nevada doesn't allow midwifery.
Really?
And so really,
I didn't know that.
It's just so crazy. I mean, there's so many rules and regulations everywhere that, So we met her at her office in California, and then the births were at our home in Nevada, and she, we were 10 minutes from the border, but she'd drive across and have the births. But not recognized midwifery in Nevada.
Did you so you didn't have a doctor on your side at that moment, right?
We were no, not at our side, but we were within 10 level 1. We were within 10 minutes of 2 level 1 hospitals. So
okay, cool.
If escalation was necessary, we were comfortable with the proximity to that.
Would you? That's an interesting question. Would you have done it if the hospitals wouldn't have been there? Because that's where I would say no.
The first time, maybe not, but after the first time, I think so.
Mhm.
And I think the experience, I mean, what a tremendous experience, birth, right? And we're never exposed to it until it's our first kid, and then you're like, holy shit, But if we were maybe more exposed to it as a society and not behind closed doors in a hospital, maybe we'd have more acceptance of having it without the hospital right next door. But we're very conditioned that the hospital is what takes care of these things. So going against that conditioning is a huge step. And it's a huge thing. Without direct family members who've done it or something like that, I think we all want the security of a hospital,
Yeah. I just had that conversation with my wife recently. We have 4 kids, and 2 times it was really critical, and the 4th one, actually, the good thing is that we had a midwife change in between because they had a shift change, and the first one she caused severe damage on our youngest son. So we are still dealing with those. And if it wouldn't have been for the second midwife, those would have been probably even worse. The thing that I really care about, or it's not that I'm not trusting midwives, not at all. I mean, that it's the topic, right? But what we've seen here in Germany and in other countries as well is if they work on eye level, then they're just such a powerful team. And where the hospital or the doctors work more on a pathological level, midwives work on a more holistic level and see that it's a life event. So it's not a disease, and that's something that you see also in the technical specifications. It's very hard to put them into single single answers, those holistic answers. So that's a challenge I'm currently working with. But if you would be up for it, let's just ping me as well. And all we have on our website, we have a form that that goes through pregnancy experience, etc. If you would love to share information on that, that would be wonderful. And if you have more information to share about that, I'm all up for it. Anytime.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
No, absolutely. Because I have four children as well, and the first one was a very normal hospital emergency C-section, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was, my wife, the mother, she was not like, there was no care. It was a super highway to a C-section,
Mm,
and so, um, it was a super highway to a C-section, and it absolutely informed the following births, and that just want a different experience. The C-section, of course, they are telling young parents it's absolutely medically necessary, and you're not going to argue in that situation. But then looking back, it's like, man, this was not managed well. It was managed in panic. And of course, they want a C-section because it completely limits their liability if they can guarantee a live birth in 5 minutes. You
yeah,
know,
it's faster. It's much more affordable. Less budgety.
yeah, yeah,
And they don't tell the women actually that the do you say aftermath is much longer, right?
correct.
It's
Yeah, it's just it's a
injury.
complete medical procedure that is to limit liability and to get them done quickly. Yeah, it's not for the woman or the child. It's for the hospital system.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
very cool space today. Thank you so much. Hi, Barbara.
Hi,
Hi.
I reach out again because I don't know really what you do, so I was just curious about, yeah.
That's cool. That's
Nice
cool.
indeed.
In
But
here we
you are in Cardano only then.
yes, I mean most of us are also somehow reaching out into other spheres.
Yeah.
So we are don't excluding other chains, and
Okay.
we've been also at Larissa.Health, we've been also thinking about other chains too, implementing them. So
Uh-huh. Okay.
so both is possible, and should be always thought of because it's technology, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If the technology doesn't adapt or if the technology is not getting used, you will have issues if you some use the blockchains or the crypto spaces also for fundraising actions or for financing rounds or whatever it is, depending on what they're searching. And if it doesn't work on that chain, then you probably have to move on at some time.
Yeah.
If this is one of the reasons why you are using that crypto space. So it
Yeah.
depends. But here I think we have two use cases that are utilizing crypto, but
Mm-hmm.
are not solely dependent on crypto, which is in my thesis is an important thing to look
Yeah.
at.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
So
Anything to add?
thank you then, and then maybe see you another time.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Please, any last words? I always say Taze, sorry. Tice, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Just yeah, it was a pleasure being here, guys, and seeing what you do and bringing people together. Like I love it. I love it. It's just the Cardano spirit, really, and in a way. So yeah, great to be on here, and yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to be on here another time. It's been a
Awesome.
pleasure. Like interesting
Yeah.
conversations for sure. So
Feel invited whenever you have an update or just want to show up. Just ping any one of us, and we'll make it happen.
okay.
We mean it well.
No, but you're a good, honest man, it seems like, and transparent as well, which is like the ethos of what we're trying to captivate here. So yeah, like
Thank you. Appreciate
yeah.
it. Cool. Awesome. Ryan, you know how to reach out to Thijs? Said it right.
Yes, I will definitely find it. Yeah, and I'll reach out.
On our
Perfect.
Discord,
Okay. Thanks, man.
there is everything.
And same here with me. Perfect. Thank you. Then
Guys, it was amazing. Thank you very much.
thank
Really.
you for hosting.
No problem. I had the chance to learn a lot, so it's nice to see that there are projects that are still trying to do the good things in the world, and not just trying to fetch money around the scamming people.
Oh, I had a good say
You
before.
must to be a president for doing that.
I had a good say. It's easy to tell you lies, but the good people have taken up the responsibility to tell you the truth, and that is usually a little bit more complex.
Yeah,
So,
very
Mm,
nice, very
which
nice and
makes
very
it
true.
which makes it less
mm.
attractive to explain our products. Happy to stay in touch.
Yeah,
Bye.
and we see each other together in the next Fireside chat. Thank you very
Bye.
much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys.